So to the boardroom, I have with me today Thomas O'Brien and correct me if I get this wrong now, Nora Homebuyers, right?
You got
And
it.
are you in Delco?
I'm in Delco. Yeah, I'm in media.
Oh, in media. Okay, so Delaware County, Pennsylvania. For those of you that are not in Pennsylvania, that's how we say Delaware County. We say it Delco. So I'm excited about our conversation today. We come from similar backgrounds, first responders, and converted, if you will, into real estate. So welcome.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to chatting.
Absolutely. Wanted to just take a few minutes and kind of introduce yourself and what your background was and what does that look like now? What are you doing now? And we can kind of fill in the gaps.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay. So background. I'm married. I have 3 kids with my wife, and I was in the police department for a total of about 15 years. I think the last 8 as a sergeant. I was, working in pretty much some of the worst areas of the city, and I got promoted and got put back after a short hiatus in a nice district. It's always the way it works, but it was fun in the beginning, and enjoyed the camaraderie. But eventually, the bureaucracy, the politics, and it became more of a liability, quite honestly, to go to work than not. Near the end, the stress involved with that, and all the things that are associated with it. I think the things you don't really think about, when you're younger, you're like, oh, I'm 26, I want to carry a gun and run around the city. And, it sounds fun, and it is in the beginning, but over time, it's those things you didn't really think about, like what's my work schedule look like if I have a family one day and things like that, and shortage on manpower. And I can't say I probably was warned by guys that have retired already, but I probably wasn't listening at the time.
Same.
So eventually that starts to kind of build up over time, I think. So anyway, so near the end there, I kind of started to question whether or not there was other things that I could do with my career or ways to make money. And I kind of started, listening to real estate podcasts and stuff like that. And I lucked out very early because there was a group of firefighters, no doubt, that started a Facebook page. Mike Webb, so he's down in the Maryland, Virginia area, and him and Tyler and Aaron Foster, they created this Facebook page, First Responder Financial Freedom, which was a great group and still is
Nice.
today. And so I joined there, and I quickly started to realize how helpful the guys were. And it's hard to find that in the real estate realm, quite honestly. I mean, it's a little easier from probably me and you to figure that out now. Like, not everybody's after your money. Like, some people are actually interested in helping, and there's no
Yeah.
agenda for the most part. But you got to find those right relationships. So those guys offered that right from the gate, and I took full advantage. Like, I would bother those guys all the time, and I knew nothing about real estate, so I kind of learned from the start with that, and I was guided along the way and started to join different mentorships and stuff like that, and slowly started gotten into like the Burr model initially, and had a long-term rental that we just moved out of and kept that, so it kind of started to snowball. So I got into the creative finance stuff, which is really like my probably specialty, my specific niche, with like subject to and using the trust and owner finance wraps and things like that. So I built up a small portfolio of a couple dozen properties, like scattered between like Georgia, South Carolina, and then up in the tri-state area. So that's kind of where I've been at up until I'd say about 9 months ago. I joined Collective Genius. I went there and I got scared because the first conference I was at, it was the first time I ever heard that the business model that I had been, kind of following, which was more built on cash flow. And, I'd lucked out over time and, gotten a few like kind of unicorn down payments from end wrap buyers and stuff like that. But the active income was really unpredictable and inconsistent. It was more based upon cash flow and the
Yeah.
creative type stuff, which is cool. But, I wanted more money in reserves, and I wasn't really used to doing the whole assigning any properties or anything. I was mainly a buyer for the most part. So, joining Collective Genius, went in there, and they reversed everything, and they said you really need specific substantial amount of active income coming in. First is really the way you're supposed to do it. So
Right.
I got frightened, and I'm like, dude, I got to go back to direct to seller. Like, I hate direct to seller. I do, and like, I was spoiled for a long time because all the creative stuff the guys would through networking and referrals would bring deals and we'd do them together. That was pretty much the model. So, so going back to direct to seller. So that's kind of where I've been at. So over the past, like, I'd say 6 months is when I first started going back. I did my research on different marketing level campaigns and I tried to understand a little bit better about how key performance indicators work and, initiating the CRM again and setting up systems. And like, it's kind of cool because I've had my head down for the last, I'd say 5 or 6 months, quite honestly, kind of building that out. So I have an admin now. I have a dispo guy, Elias. He's awesome. And another younger guy, an intern that helps out with lead management. So just getting back into that whole process and quite frankly, learning, the cash assignment deal thing, which is still pretty new to me. So we've been doing about 2 deals active income a month, like on average over the past like 3 months. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It is a lot
Especially
to go through all that,
if you're just in a position now where you're switching into that, it's still fairly new then for your model. So that's really good for just starting out. I was gonna say, you chose to start wholesaling right as they start cracking down on wholesaling. It's perfect timing.
It's perfect timing, right? It's like and I remember asking this question, like even like the coffee house meetup with all the guys on Wednesdays and stuff like that. And I think I asked the question to Jimmy Z and Drew. I was like, so how are you guys dealing with the wholesaling laws? And they laughed. So, eventually that will be an issue. It seems to be being overlooked by now, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, just like anything else, I
Right.
mean, you just adapt and overcome, right? Try to figure out different ways around things. So.
Well, exactly that. And I know why they're laughing, because I've had this conversation with multiple people now, and it's really the law is put out there, and it's put out for interpretation, and every single title company interprets it different. They look at it with a different perspective. So, the 3 main title companies that I either work through or some of my clients that I coach sales to go to do it 3 different ways. So, like you'd think it would be black and white and everybody's doing it the same way, but that's just not the case. Some of them are still assigning, like it was back in February, and some of them are double closing, and some of them are wholetailing, meaning they close on the property and then resell it later. So it's all in how the title company interprets it.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, I've been working with one title company. We just switched out of there and moved on to another one that is pretty popular and everybody uses. So we'll see how it goes, man. I don't know. I've always been the type of person that tend to just jump into things and try to figure it out as I go along. So,
Right, right.
there's pros and cons to that type of approach for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm the same way, so I get it. But I wanted to ask you because I don't have the opportunity to ask this question a lot, just based on your background, but because I can relate to it. When you left the police department then and started doing this real estate, what did that look like in the beginning? I mean, you're used to a certain schedule. Well, I should start there. Like, what schedule did you work?
That's a great question. Great question. You can understand for sure. My schedule, I mean, we did two weeks of day work, 2 weeks of evening. So it kind of swapped back and forth. You do 4 on, 2 off, 5 on, 2 off. That's the more standardized schedule. Some people like to do the midnight shift. I did get stuck on that for 2 separate years, and that was horrific. I could never really adapt to the midnight shift at all. I did not. It did not work well with me. But so I was pretty much on. I was a supervisor, and then we did the standard 2 weeks day, 2 weeks evening.
Okay.
But I guess to answer your question, it was a big adjustment. So I got injured, so I was out hurt. So which I've been out hurt one other time for like an extended period. I think it was 8 months the first go around. So, but I had just started like my first burr. Like I was in the middle of the rehab, and I was doing a lot of the work myself when I got hurt. So I ended up having to sub out the rest and kind of manage contractors and get all that stuff done. And I had a lot of physical issues as a result of the injury too, which made it a little bit more interesting
Sure.
and complicated. But I got it done, and then but that shift was eventually it kind of hit me where I was like, all of a sudden running a business, like buying more deals and doing this stuff kind of full time and having like no regimented work schedule was a big adjustment for me.
Yeah.
And I can't honestly say I've ever completely adapted to that. I definitely have my own style of when I like to do things, and it's more energy based than anything. I've even tried to be more committed to time blocking, and there's certain times of the day where I will commit to that for team meetings and seller calls and stuff like that, but it tends to float around. So I'm sure I can imagine it's probably a pretty common issue with guys that are have like a really small team or even like solo. It's like I'm doing in-person appointments at this point, so even that's an adjustment. So trying to
Yeah.
fit those things into my schedule. My wife works as a nurse practitioner still, so we have to work around that and the kids and school and activities and all that stuff. So it is it can be kind of like a circus, quite honestly, trying to make things work sometimes.
That's funny, and I didn't know this before we started recording, but my wife is an RN, so she's a nurse, and she works in
Okay.
used to work in the hospital, not anymore. But to speak to the schedules, we had a little bit of a different schedule. I went through really three different schedules. We had the traditional 24/48, where we were on for a full day, off for 2 days, and then what they call, I don't know, do you have in the police department? Do you have Kelly weeks in the police department?
What is that?
Okay, so no. So so it'd be a 24/48, and then everybody cycles it a little bit differently, but usually about 5 cycles in, there's a switch in the schedule, so you end up having like a full week off.
No way.
They
We
call
would
it,
kill. We would kill for that schedule. There was a long fight with Ellie, the FOP, trying to, everybody wanted either 10-hour shifts or 12-hour shifts to try to get those couple extra days off, like squeezed in between, but it just never happened.
now once I became a captain, we backed off of that schedule. Well, I backed off of that schedule and started doing 12-hour shifts. And we would do, it started out 7 days on, 7 days off, which was really great for the daylight shifts because it was 7 a to 7 p for 7 days, and then you had 7 days off. Then you went back for a full midnight week. And then we broke that up a little bit and did two on, three off, two on, and then flip flop that the next week. So it was a couple different progressions of that. Where it became a circus, like you say, is when my wife was in the hospital. She was also working 12-hour shifts at the same time, and we had to manipulate our schedules so that we were alternate. And at the time, we had two kids. So there were times where we were literally like passing each other in the driveway. She was going to work and I was coming home, or vice versa. So it
Yeah.
was it was hectic, and no better motivator after doing that for like 8 years straight than to find something like this and get the hell out of that.
Yeah, yeah. I can't even imagine trying to, I mean, I do see guys doing it where they're still working a W-2 and trying to build a real estate business, or whatever you want to call it, whether they're doing wholesaling or rentals and stuff like that. I can't imagine doing all that and working full time. So I give those guys a lot of credit because I have a hard enough time even having tons of free time
Yeah,
trying to make
right, right.
that work, dude. That's a
Now,
lot.
on the no pun intended, but on the flip side of that, the positive was having that much time off when we did started like studying the real estate and learning and being able to go to different events or meetups and networking. Like that became easier because I did have a lot of time off. So the
Yeah.
transition was a little bit easier than I feel like if I had a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday.
Right, right. Yeah. I don't know how, yeah, it just speeds up progress, like having that free time.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Now you mentioned early on that you when you're changing your marketing back, you don't like the direct to seller marketing. Is that the marketing side of it, or is that the like the face to face, like the seller side of it, the sales side?
The sales stuff I'm really good with. Like I enjoy talking to people. I think what ends up happening is, quite honestly, like it's an internal pressure that I end up applying to myself, like that I have to do so much or XXX. I think it's just a struggle that I have from time to time, um, just to trying to get to a certain amount of deal flow, and I still need balance in my life. I have a tendency to run full force sometimes at my own demise. So, and at the end of the day, I think who ends up paying for it, quite honestly, is probably my wife and kids. Like, I mean, you know how it is. Sometimes these deals come in out of left field, out of nowhere, or you get a call. It's like, it's one of those things that we were talking about before the show, and nobody really wants tell. No, people don't tend to tell you how the business really is. Like, if you're doing inbound marketing, like for instance, coming in right now. Hold on, let me turn this off. I got Elias hand on the phone, so that's cool. So that's only recent, which is cool. So that's kind of where I was going with this. But like, yeah, you're doing inbound marketing. Like you're paying X amount of money for those leads. Like when that phone rings, you better answer the phone.
Right. Yeah.
So there's no telling when that's going to happen. So if you have, depending on what kind of marketing you're doing, whether it's SEO or pay per click or obviously PPL you can turn on and turn off, which is kind of why I'm a bigger fan of that right now. In the meantime, just so I can kind of set my hours accordingly, knowing that I'm going to have time to answer. But they come in, you got to answer them. So if you're at the dinner, with your wife and kids, and you got a potential, $50,000 phone call that you got to take. I mean, you gotta make a decision, man. It's not always that easy. So, um, I mean, I try to balance it out. I'll talk with my wife all the time and kind of check in with her. We check in with each other, like just to see how this is going, quite honestly. And it's cool. It's cool to see that it's working, and I understand that it's difficult. So I'm okay with all that. But at the same time, like I just want to make sure that I'm not stepping on the toes of my wife and kids, and that we're all kind of on the same page. You know what I
Right.
mean?
We had similar conversations, a little bit different because she was in it with me. So we were kind of like riding this journey together. When we got into real estate, it was primarily flipping. We didn't really do any wholesaling or anything like that. If there's anything that was really good that looked like on paper would cash flow, we would hold it. But our primary focus was we got into this to flip. And it wasn't until our lead flow got unmanageable in the way that we were getting more contracts than we could flip is when we just wholesaled by default. So her doing it with me, it took us it took us longer than it should have to realize that the people who we were damaging was my three girls.
Mm.
I didn't notice it through my wife because we were hanging out all day together. Like we're working together now. So doing the flips, going to see properties together. I would do the sales side by myself, but everything every day we were just bouncing stuff off of each other. And looking back on it, my daughter, oldest daughter, said that most of her memories are sitting in these empty houses while we're just checking everything out. Like, or that was her fun, was to come with us to these dirty houses. So that's what she used to call them, the dirty houses. So, yeah. But hindsight, I would do it all again. Maybe a little bit differently, but I would do it all again to be where I'm at right now.
I'm with you. I mean, how can you beat it? So, like, this is a conversation that me and my wife have often. I think her perspective has changed pretty dramatically from when everything first started. I think she thought I was losing my mind when I first started to get into this business.
Yeah.
And when she started to see like kind of what it entails, there was even some conversations in the beginning. It's like, I mean, let's face it, if you're brand new to real estate and you got a lot to learn, like I spent a lot of time in my office, and I remember her asking me one time, like, what are you doing in there? Are you napping? And I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, do you have any idea like how much I'm doing? And then the checks start hitting, right? So the position that we're in financially, and again, I'm a small team like this. I haven't been doing all this long, but our financial future based upon where we're at now compared to where we were even like 3.5 years ago is dramatically different, dude. And not only that, but it's like I didn't get this from my parents. Now, granted, that was a different generation, right? So, you work, for the city, and you save your money, and then that's how that was passed down to me, and that was it. There was nothing extra. But like my kids will ask questions now, and I love having that conversation with them. I mean, they're still young; they're 9, 8, and 5, but they pay attention, and I notice they start to ask more questions, and they're starting to understand the differences between like being an employee and what it may look like to run your own business. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of an effect that has on them when they get older. But at least they're getting an opportunity to see like you don't have to just do what everybody else is doing, I guess, is well, that's the exciting part, I think.
Same background for me. We're very unique in our family, in our family trees because of the same reasons. I grew up in New York City, and we had a big family. I noticed your last name, so you can relate to that. You probably have a big family yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, Irish like to multiply.
Yeah, we didn't have any TVs. Um, so anybody that is probably my father's age or older was either police department, fire department, or military. Period. That's all we
Yep.
did.
Yeah.
And we were the black sheep, if you will, that broke away and work on our own.
Yeah. 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 Now, does your family, like your extended family, do they even know what you do at this point? Do they look
They
at it?
do.
Yeah.
They do. That's it's the same questions. We don't go too deep with them. It's oh, you're still flipping houses? Yes. Oh, are we going to see you on HGTV? No, you're not. It's not.
That,
It's not
that's
that
about
type
as
of
deep
flipping
as it
houses.
goes. Yeah, that's funny. I don't know if my family even still understands what I do at all, but that's cool. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. And then then you see all the pictures on social media or the videos of you taking trips. Maybe if you want to spend a little bit of your money, you're like, oh, how'd
See,
you
I,
go
I
there?
think I think that's where it's kind of starting to kick in, like a little
Yeah.
bit. Like I think I talked to one of my relatives the other day, and they were that they're like, oh, I see you bought your wife a new Yukon, and you guys are traveling to Florida like every other month. I'm like, yep, it's a lot of hard
Yeah.
work behind that, dude. It's a lot
And
of hard.
honestly, it's not all vacation because
No,
you're still
even
working
when
down
I'm
there
on.
when you go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your team looks like or anything like that, or I'd imagine it's probably a similar process, and depending on how far you want to go with it and build out or whatever. But it is. I'm only just starting to get to the point where I have a little bit of assistance. So even
Yeah.
being on vacation, like I got a banger of a deal. Like while we're down in Florida, and I was trying to take a break, but stuff comes up and you still got to take it. So I don't even know how much that qualifies for a vacation. Quite
Right, right.
honestly.
Well, to your point before, you have money on the street, so when that phone rings, that's money on the other line. So
Yep,
you got to take it. You got to
you
talk
got
to
to
them.
take it, dude.
Our team is definitely a lot leaner than it was when we first got into the business in 2017, 18 is when we really started to like hammer down and do this. We wanted to do this full time.
Okay,
And at the time, the cool thing to do, the shiny object, was to build this enormous team and do thousands of deals every year.
right.
So that's what we thought success looked like, and we built a team fairly quickly. In the first 4 years, we were up to 15,
A month,
and no, 15 people on our team.
people.
Yeah,
Whew.
I mean, we're doing a decent amount of deal flow, but with that comes a ton of overhead. So we weren't
Right.
really realizing our net in those years three, four, and five. We're like, oh, this is success. We have a bunch of people on our team, and we're doing a bunch of deals. And at the
Right.
end of the year, December 31st, you go to do your taxes, and you're like, we didn't make any money. I'd like to make some money next year. So we don't do the investing as heavy as we did back then. In the past couple of years, I kind of converted over to like my part of the business was sales and marketing, and my wife did the construction and the project management. So she still does that, and she also broke off and did like a branch business where she does like one-offs for residential, like kitchens and baths.
Okay.
And I broke off and did coaching for sales teams. So I've helped a couple of wholesale teams build their sales teams up, and I'm really enjoying that. So as I found throughout the years, and through like every time we would lose somebody in sales, that's what I would hop back into because that's what I like to do, and it just became part of my life. So now I talk it, I preach it, and I teach it.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I know I've had that conversation. I think I was always. I mean, I see these guys run these huge team. Like I'm pretty friendly with Eric Brewer. Like I've been up to his office a couple times, and I seen that. And there was no part of me that ever thought that I intend to do things on that level. So I think I've always been kind of in a search for a happy medium. And there's got to be balance. Like it's just important. Just like you did. I mean, like I already worked a career, man. Like I'm 45 and my kids are still pretty young. Like I don't intend on disappearing for the next 5 to 10 years just to build something,
Yeah.
for vanity's sake, quite honestly. I mean, how much money do you really need is the question I'm always asking myself. Like, there's a significant amount of money to be made. Like, come on, bro. Like, even at this point, just doing two active income wholesale deals a month of your average spread of like 20 to 25K, you knock a little bit off the top
Yeah.
for commissions for your guy. I mean, that's just that alone is substantial, minus like the cash flow from the wraps. It's like I don't really. I mean, maybe 4 to 5 deals a month. That's just an idea I have in my head right now to get to
Yeah.
that point and see what that looks like and feel it out. And if I need to dumb it down, I'm good with that too. Like I don't see going anything past that. Like having a whole team to run and no desire to get to there.
I'll play devil's advocate to that because I've had this conversation with my wife before. After everything I said, I'll play devil's advocate to what you just said. And I'm glad you brought Eric up because he's one of our good friends. If you can do, like we did one year, we did 54 flips. If you can do 54 flips, can you do 600? Sure. And we tried to. Like we tried to progress in that direction. The problem is, and where he did it right, is he built that up. Like we can be as good as we want in marketing. We can be good as we want in sales, and we could probably contract 30 houses a month. But everything underneath you has to support that, which we didn't have. And that's where
Mm.
he built his business correctly, is he has the supporting staff. He was able to invest the time, the money, and the education into every single one of his employees. And that shows. Like he built the business from the core up and made that strong foundation. That we didn't have. We just wanted people in there as soon as possible to help us with the day to days that became mundane to us, like things I
Right.
don't like to do. I wanted to get out of as fast as possible, and it didn't take the time necessary to train all of my people, and that caused a lot of turnover. And those are lessons that I guess we all learn along the way. But that's the difference that I see. It is possible if that's your goal. It's not ours anymore, but if it is, it doesn't have to be as tough as we made it.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time thinking about that and what that might look like, and I don't know through experience, but I can tell you that from what I've seen, it is definitely like it seems to be like a whole nother level. Like there's a whole lot of leadership involved there, and like
Yeah,
you mentioned, like I think you really have to be into wanting to do that for sure.
yeah,
To me, if I'm already doubting that, it just it's like but there is also the ego part, and I think that comes into play sometimes. Was well, I can do it. I have no doubt. I have no doubt in my ability to take a crack at getting there, but I just don't see the payoff, in my opinion. Like I'm not willing to make the expense at the expense of like my family and our lifestyle, if that makes any
yeah.
sense too. You know?
It does.
Yeah.
There was, at the risk of repeating myself, a couple episodes ago, I had Drew Farnese on, which we
Okay.
both know from Revamp, and I had said this to him, and you will relate to this. Leadership is very different from where we came from to where we are now, and I learned that very quickly as we started to bring people in. As a captain in the firehouse, as a sergeant in the police department, when you had a new police officer come in, they know how to be a cop. They were trained in an academy somewhere. The skills of being a cop, maybe not the way you do day to day or the way you expect your guys to go and either they're patrolling or whatever they're doing. In my case, is you're either engine or your truck and the different things that you had to do on each. We're trained through an academy. So I was getting somewhat trained people into my firehouse where then I had to lead them as people in their jobs, if that
Right.
makes sense. Where we get people into our real estate businesses, we're getting them fresh. We have to we have to train them in everything and make sure they're up to speed, and the leadership comes afterwards. Like there's management and then there's leadership. I was a horrible manager, maybe a pretty good leader.
Yeah, yeah, I can see how those differences would exist for sure. And it is a whole different style too. And I guess it would probably bleed out more than I would even realize. It probably already does, like to some extent, like right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's rules, and I mean, it took me quite a while, to be honest with you, to even get out of like talking like in such an authoritative fashion to people. Like when I first got into sales, like I had that pointed out so many times, and I feel like I've gotten away from that fairly well, but it took a while and it wasn't natural. You know what I mean? I mean, you're so used to being like, sit down,
Yeah.
shut up, right?
Right.
It's like, you can't. That's not a good bridge. So, but I don't know. It's been a process, but I do enjoy that part. I think the one thing I think I love some of the things I love the most are the flexibility, right? It's like you are the master of your own destiny. Now, there's pros and cons to that because now it's up to you to figure it out, right? but being around people and building relationships, like those are some of my favorite things right there. So, but I mean, we all know, I mean, this business can get hairy. So, I mean, if you're dealing with sellers or buyers or vice versa, it is an interesting
It
precarious
really is.
business
It,
sometimes. Yeah,
it comes with its own set of stories.
it does.
I mean, some of the houses I've been to on the real estate investing side are more interesting stories than when I walked into in the firehouse.
No doubt, no doubt about it. But I do enjoy like the psychology behind sales and talking to people and like building relationships and rapport, and I find it so interesting. I find people so
Yeah,
interesting, and just like kind of cracking that shell initially with sellers and dealing with all different kinds of personalities, and then uncovering the puzzle of what's behind that.
yeah.
It's very interesting.
I never tied together my past experience with sales when I first got into this. I was horrible at it for like a year and a half. None of the light bulbs went off for me until one day I was listening to a podcast and they were semi talking about their past on the ambulance. And I was like, well, I used to be on the ambulance. I'll listen to this. There's not too much different than rolling up on a scene where you know nothing about what just happened and
Right.
having to find out the whole story than when you sit in front of a seller on their living room couch and you're doing the same thing. And I never, ever, I don't know why I didn't. I never tied the two together. But once I did, sales just started becoming easier every day after that. Because I was so focused on the number, I was so focused on them telling me no because I'm too low and I'm one of those scam artists and all that stuff that goes through your head when you go to a sales call. Once I was able to throw that out, it didn't happen overnight, but once I was able to do that, my sales flipped at 180, and that's when we started really rocking and rolling on that side.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's interesting. It's like even like I have Elias is a firefighter, so he works with me now, and he's really just dipping his toes into the direct to seller stuff. So we go over a lot of calls now during the week, or at least we're starting to, and it is. I think I had a hard time. I used to get I used to shake when I used to call sellers, like because I
Yeah,
started out cold calling 3.5 years ago. So there's no better way to cut your teeth than that way, in my opinion. And that's what I try to tell them. It's like you're going to have to probably get a good 1,000 phone calls under your belt, quite honestly.
yeah,
With like proper direction and like the you have to have the initiative on your own to want to learn. Also, I think that combination, but it's nerve wracking. But yeah, as soon as you start to learn that this is just a human conversation I'm having with somebody and then trying to stay detached from the outcome um, is probably one of the most important aspects in my opinion because I still fight that today. Like I'll get emotional or like you realize that there's a deal there. It's like, no, you got to contain yourself, bro. You got to simmer down and spend more
yeah.
time listening and not jump at everything. So having that patience, it really is like a pretty good mixture, I think, between an art form and scientific. Like when you start to wrap your head around all the details.
No, it really is. And I have a Facebook post floating out there from a while back that I put out there that said that I've been in, I don't know, hundreds of house fires. I've been through an explosion. I've been through horrific stuff. But that first marketing piece we put out when the phone rang, I was terrified. The rest of it was just my job. I was terrified when the phone rang.
It is terrifying. It took a while to get away from that, and it still happens sometimes to me today. Quite honestly, it still happens today. So I think I haven't really connected the dots between the types of personalities and people that I'm talking to, but I'm definitely more level headed now than I was when I started. That's for sure. So I think when you start to realize, because in the beginning you're like, I might have a deal here, and then you're gonna drop everything that you're doing and focus completely on the potential, what you think is a potential in a deal, and you don't realize that you're totally shooting yourself in the foot by doing that.
Yeah, no,
More
you're right.
often than not, right? It's like there's so many deals out there. Not all of them are going to work, and like there's obviously a difference. Like, is there really any motivation that this person has or not? So I think once you start to have enough of those conversations, and you can more easily recognize the difference between that. Like, is there motivation? Is there opportunity here? Like, If
Yeah.
all those things seem to fit and kind of fall in line, okay, well then maybe we have something here.
That's when it gets fun. Once you start having the right conversations, you can actually point
Yep.
that out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does 2026 look like? I know you're just kind of getting into the wholesaling space, doing pretty good so far. Are we building on that, or you just want to like
Yeah.
stick with
So
the team you got now and see what you can do for the rest of the year?
we're looking to improve to be more efficient. I think we're looking to just I don't really like the word scale. That's not my word. I don't like that word, quite honestly. I like efficiency better. So, just, kind of refining the CRM process, the automation process, whether or not we're going to have AI involved in certain aspects of lead management to do a little bit of the heavy lifting. Like that's kind of like the shorter term goal to kind of take the workload off of the manual callbacks. I think I heard on a Steve Trang podcast, he was actually talking about Eric Brewer's team when they have an inbound. It's all these little things that you hear along the way, right? It's like there's really so much to this business when you really start paying attention. It's like it's easy to get overwhelmed. But if you take a step back and realize that, this is going to take time, right? And consistency, I think, is the biggest thing. But it's like you learn something one at a time. You start to implement it a little bit at a time. Like it'll start to make a difference over time, right? So I think his thing, what I hear, he uses AI. Get an inbound lead that comes in, they don't answer. So he has AI automated for 40 days, I believe, to call 3 times a day to that lead. And then if there is a connection, then there's a live transfer to one of his lead managers. That might not sound revolutionary, but for like a small team and you're looking to free up as much time as possible, if you can get some of that heavy lifting done through
Absolutely.
more of an automation, like in my opinion, that would make a world of a difference. So now we can kind of open things up and like other things like I brought on a transaction coordinator. I needed somebody that was well versed with creative because that's still kind of my thing. So I
Hmm.
will cherry pick deals as they make sense. So that's something that we just implemented. So it's like a little bit at a time, things start getting a little bit more efficient, right? To the point of where, okay, cool. So we're doing 4 to 5 deals a month right now. Like, now? Let's take a step back. Like, what does this feel like? Is this
Yeah.
manageable? Is there any way to improve and become more efficient at this point? Like, who knows what decision I'll make at that time? But that's my goal. So the goal is by summertime to build up to that, and we'll see what it looks like.
If you were to ask my opinion, I would say do exactly what you're doing right now because that's what I would tell somebody
Really?
when you got to
Okay,
that
well, that's
point.
good to
Based
hear.
on our like when we were at 5 deals a month, I wanted to get to 20 deals a month, and we weren't ready for that. So like, if you did ever want to get to that 10 deals a month, having those efficiencies in place
So
is
I think
exactly what motivates me.
one of the awesome things that I've been paying, I love to pay attention to guys much like yourself, right, who built a solid business up to a certain point, right? Like again, it's like so I could focus on what's important, right? Like, is it important for me to be able to tell somebody, yeah, we do 15 deals a month, right? Is that as important as no, it fits within my lifestyle? Okay, we do 5 deals a month, but we're efficient and like I get to spend time with wife and my kids, like. That's not something that most people talk about. And like I also see the bigger in CG, they'll bring down the bigger operators like in Premiere that are doing like 100 plus deals a year, etc. And I hear a commonality in that, and that like much like you said, like it's like, okay, we hit a certain point, we got this team, our gross revenue looks amazing, right? And then one of the guys that was at the conference last week was saying a similar story. They had 2 or 3 years where they made no money. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so knowing that, it's like, yes, for sure, you get to that point. I'm sure you can. Okay, well, let's get more efficient. We're either going to lean down or start getting better processes in place so that we can maintain this, and the net profit looks better. Can that happen? Sure. Like, but like, are you willing to put in the work and the
Yeah.
time to get that? I think is a good question to ask. And like, I ask myself that honestly. The answer is no.
Yeah.
It's not. And like, I
There's
think
a big mental growth spot that you're already at, that some people have to look at it through that lens. If you're making, let's just make the math simple, right? If you're making, it's all about your lifestyle. Like, what does it do for your lifestyle in the good? So if you're making $500,000 a year, let's just say as a salary, but you have a $600,000 mortgage, as opposed to somebody that's making $200,000 a year with a paid off house. Like who's happier? Who's fitting their own lifestyle? Like that's the way that we had to convert our thought patterns. Like it does it great. If you can do a deal a month, you can do 100 deals a month. Anybody can. Doesn't mean they're going to be clean and fun and your life is going to be hell. It's what does that look like at the end of the month? What did you achieve and what did you achieve for yourself and your family? That's what's important.
Yeah, it is. I think it is too, man. It is hard sometimes because when I think I find myself again, a normal human trait like comparison. It's like, okay, well, this guy's doing this company's doing that. It's impressive. I'm not gonna lie. Like somebody like Eric Brewer or like Santini over in Jersey, like those guys, man, it is impressive as heck, dude. It
Sure.
is, no doubt about it. But like, is that something that I want to do? Like, it's you have to. I think you have to get real with yourself. I'm trying to be pretty real with myself at this point. And like again, like how much do we need? Like my goal is to get my wife to a point where she doesn't have to work if she doesn't want to. She has the kind of personality where she spent many years in school. She's a nurse practitioner. She loves what she does. Like I don't. We've talked about it. She's like, I don't even know if I would ever completely stop doing it. I'd like to have the option. So it's like, okay, well, keeping that in mind, like, would it be nice to not have to work if you didn't want to? Like, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So can we have a point, kind of a happy medium, sort of, where we get into the position where like you have that option, and it's also not corroding our family life. Like that to me would be, not a smart move. Like I don't know. There was a girl, Jenny. She's been in real estate for quite a while down CG. I think she asked me. She's like, what you should be asking these high level operators is how is their marriage? And I was like, oh man, that's a fair question. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not something anybody's going to get up on a stage and talk about like in detail.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I say if you can take dollars and cents off the board, if you can go to bed at night and have your stress level at a 2 or below, that's success. You can measure success based on that, I think, because
That's
there's so
cool.
much, so much going around in your head. If you can keep that to a minimum, then you know you're doing something right.
I like that. I hope to get to that one day. I think if I had to be honest with myself, I'm probably around about an 8 or a 9 most times right now.
No, I
But
didn't, disclaimer, I didn't say I was there. I said you should be there.
that's cool.
So, all right. Well, cool. Well, thank you for coming on the Boardroom Podcast. This was fun.
Yeah, man.
Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
I'm on social media, so you can look me up on Facebook or Instagram. You know what I mean? I'm on there just posting about things that are happening, no fluff. So feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and I'm excited to see where your year goes.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it, brother. All right, man.